does not bring about health, prosperity, and peace for all living beings on the planet, right? It is not of God. It is not of the light. Absolutely.
You get more objective than that. We're very clear. We're very plain.
Spirit of flesh consumption.
It's blood magic. That's what it is. It's pagan blood magic. It's this belief that in order for me to gain some type of nutritional advantage, something innocent has to die. When you participate directly or indirectly in eating meat, you are participating in a sacrifice to Satan. Eating something, a religion, a God based on love for animals.
Yeah.
Oh, you even listening to yourself when you talk. It's something, if you go to any church and you say what you just said, Brother Joe, they'll throw you out.
All right. What is up, everyone? Today, we're here with my brother, Nathaniel. Goes by the Minister of Wellness on YouTube. We just recently got connected after seeing some of his content and just exactly the message that I resonate with and I think needs to be spread. And so we're here today to share some thoughts, some wisdom with you guys. Minister, thank you for coming on to the first podcast I'm hosting.
Yes, it's good to be here with you, Brother Joey, and greetings to all who will see this.
Absolutely. So specifically, you have kind of coined a term or have a term that you like to use when describing veganism, because you feel like some of the other definitions or viewpoints don't hit the full thing or don't hit at its root. So if you could describe, you call it religious veganism, correct? If you can break down what religious veganism is and the ins and outs of that, I'd appreciate that.
Absolutely. So I founded a church called the Health Reformation Church of Jesus Christ the Nazarene. And Jesus Christ the Nazarene, that version of Jesus has very little to no resemblance to the Jesus of Christianity. So I always tell people my religion is life and health. And I make that very clear. And so when we speak of religious veganism, at the religion of life and health, our scriptures, such as the Gospel of the Holy 12. So we have our scriptures, we have our teachings, we have our traditions that have been passed down to us for thousands of years, Brother Joey. And so according to the Gospel of the Holy 12, we don't take life of any innocent animal under no circumstances for our pleasure or for our profit. As a matter of fact, according to our scriptures, being as there's this huge debate, the Bible has divided the races among the chosen and then the rest of the Gentiles. And it does that based on your genealogy. With the religion of life and health, we understand that being the chosen or being Israel has nothing to do with race whatsoever. It is all about the content of your character. And a part of the content of the character is the respect for all creation, treating all creation as we would want to be treated. So one of the passages we go by tells us explicitly, we are not to take the life of any innocent being for our pleasure, meaning for our taste buds. So I grew up in America, such as you, St. Louis, Missouri, and I used to eat triple Whoppers with cheese every single day from Burger King. I was doing that for my pleasure. Well, now I understand that that's an abomination. So I will not participate in taking innocent life for my pleasure or, Brother Joey, for my profit. So like you, I've been into lifting weights my whole life. I competed as a power lifter before, and I used to, squatting 500 pounds and all of these things. Well, I'm not going to take life for my profit as well. So we reject anything, even if it's in the Bible, when it speaks of, Genesis 1:29 says that we were vegans, but then God gave us an authorization in Genesis 9:3 because of the flood. We don't accept that. We do not believe under any circumstances that the Creator has ever given us concessions to kill and eat his creation. This is something that we've done, something that we formulated. And of course, we create these religions and writings to support our vampire spirit to kill and eat animals. So that's what religious veganism is. Also, the second component. So we're not just against the current modern meat factory, which is an extreme form of animal slaughtering, where they're raping the mother cows and sending little baby chicks through a shredder and all of this monstrosity that we see. But I don't care if you raise the animal in your backyard. We don't care if you raise the animal in your backyard and then you humanely, whatever that's supposed to mean, humanely kill. No, we don't believe in none of that. 2,000 of years ago, our writings and our prophets are clear. It doesn't matter. Our writings predate the animal factory farm system. No, we do not kill and slaughter innocent beings, period.
Right.
And then the second component is our health. So in ethical veganism, the concern is, for the animal. So the ethical vegan is like, well, I can just be a big fat slob eating Impossible burgers and so forth. And as long as I'm protecting the life of animals. Now, I agree. At one point, Brother Joey, actually a few years ago, I had a deep level of depression I was going through, and I gained 70 pounds as a ethical vegan.
Hmm.
I refused to ever go vegan for 13 years. So in a sense, on a lower level, I agree with that position as an ethical vegan. Like, listen, with the technology we have, you can have vegan donuts, you can have
Right.
vegan burgers, you can have vegan pizza, you can have what is your excuse to still slaughter and murder innocent beings? However, as religious vegans, we understand the whole food plant-based vegan diet is what gives us the life vitality that we need to operate at our best level, spiritually, physically, and emotionally. Because after all, Brother Joey, if we become fat, sick vegans, then how can we be our best for our animal brothers and sisters? So
Absolutely.
that is religious veganism.
Absolutely. And I think that, the compass kind of when you're looking at the religious veganism is, you say it multiple times in your podcast, which is, if it does not cause prosperity or peace, or what do you say, for all living beings, right? Then we don't do it. What is kind of your phrase there?
Yeah, our phrase, our key mantra at the Religion of Life and Health is peace, life, and health for all without the sacrifice of any.
Yeah.
That's it. And for some reason, Bible thumpers can't get that. They religious flesh eaters can't get that. That to me, I had somebody just now on Facebook. There's another young brother, only a couple years older than you, named John Truth, and he's been known for being a conspiracy theorist. And within the last year, he's converted over to the message of life and health. And so the vampires are just attacking him left and right. And one of them was criticizing our position on how we use the lens of compassion and mercy to decide what we're going to believe in the Bible and what we're not. Well, the brainwise Bible thumper was saying, yeah, but now everything is subjective. So one of our brothers in the Religion of Life and Health was trying to go back and forth with him about life and death is not something subjective. That's objective that I can see. So I came in as the minister of wellness, and I asked him, because one of the things I do, Brother Joey, that you probably noticed, I just go right to the point. I don't sugarcoat. I don't play no games. I don't play semantics. I'm not the best at philosophical bag. I just go right to the logic of it. So I asked him, I said, my brother, can we not agree about this objective truth? Under no circumstances do you murder babies and defenseless elderly women and men. Can we agree? What is subjective about that? That is objectively morally evil. Under no circumstances, Brother Joey, do you take a sword or take a gun and you kill babies and defenseless elderly women and men. And I asked him, I said, now I want you to respond to that. And I told the brother that was going back, I said, now watch this Bible thumper. Watch him squirm his way out of that. You know why he has to do that, Brother Joey? Because in his Bible, multiple times, his God commands the chosen people to genocide babies and elderly women and children. So we're very objective. All life wants to live, and we have a responsibility to ensure. It's very simple. Do my actions produce, or my actions producing life, or my actions producing a positive consequences, or my actions producing a negative am I doing what I do, Brother Joe? And we apply this to all areas of life. We apply this to diet. We apply this to sex. We apply this to everything. Am I doing what I'm doing for my own selfish desires? Because it's what I want. Or am I doing what I'm doing because it's going to produce peace, life, and health? And I understand that my actions, even when I do something in private, it has a karmatic ripple effect throughout the universe. How do you get more objective than that? We're very clear. We're very plain. So no, it's them that's subjective. They're the ones that I can't wait to see his response to what I just said. I can't wait to see how he'll try to squirm his way.
Some verses.
His ways are higher. Yeah, his ways are higher than our ways. And I think. So you telling me that? Yeah, go ahead.
It's a little delayed. That's why it feels like we're cutting each other off. But I'll go ahead and I'll say that the idea, which is not following what you're saying, which is saying, hey, if this doesn't cause prosperity for all living beings, right, including myself, I think we are part of the living beings, right? If it doesn't cause that, then it is not holy, right? Or it is not of the God that I serve. Now, to go stray away from that and to say, I am going to take actions that cause violence and cause harm towards living beings, more harm than good, and to say my God approves of that is to say my God is inherently imperfect and evil, right? To desire and to approve something that would cause harm, right? And that's essentially what we're saying. And then the whole idea of it is of the non-religious veganism is to use ways and use justifications cognitively, spiritually, contextually to try to say that no, our benevolent God wants us to do this, and here's why he's still a good God, which it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. You cannot say I have a benevolent, holy God that wants innocent violence of the innocent. And it's like at our deepest core, we know this, right?
Yes.
But we will still try to justify it because of the demon of the flesh consumption at physical and spiritual levels. And so that's also what I want to get into, is because, we could talk about health, we could talk about nutrition, but there's forces at play that cause some of the best hearted people I know.
Yeah.
And some of the most logical people I know to still commit these acts because there are spiritual forces involved.
Yes.
Right now, there's not a lot of people hitting it at the spiritual lens. There's a good amount, but like really hitting into this aspect. And so the spirit of flesh consumption, I want to dive into this. And how would you explain it?
It's blood magic. That's what it is. It's pagan blood magic. It's this belief that in order for me to gain some type of nutritional advantage, something innocent has to die. I need that protein from that dead animal. So I'm going to sacrifice that animal's life. I'm going to take away that animal's ability to live an abundant life. I'm going to take that animal away from its family because I need I need that animal to die for me to live. That's blood magic. And that's the foundation of all of the Abrahamic faiths. And so the Apostle Peter, the version of the Apostle Peter that we follow, he wrote 2,000 years ago in the Clementine homilies that the consumption of flesh is unnatural, that the consumption of flesh is heathenistic, and that it is the worship of devils. He wrote that the consumption of flesh brings on a demonic spirit. And so therefore, the Apostle Peter and James, the just Jesus' brother, they would not sit down and eat with anybody who had participated in the fellowship of devils until that person repented and went through water baptism, because, we're washed through water. You're not washed in blood. I've never seen anybody do laundry in blood, Brother Joey, but you're washed through. So that's the symbolism of water baptism. So this is people, when you see the violence in this world, when you see the out of control sexual immorality in this world, people have put on themselves a demonic vampire spirit from this blood magic. It's a blood magic spell that people are under, and it's very difficult for people to snap out of it. And part of the reason is physically these demons are manifested in us through parasites. They actually form living beings to be hosts, to live inside of us through parasites. So animal flesh, dead animal flesh that comes from the torture and the sorrow of something. You are trying to gain strength from a living being's torment, sorrow, hurt, and pain. That is absolutely despicable. When you consume that builds parasites in your body and in your brain. And now these parasites are controlling people to where they will stop at nothing. Again, Brother Joey, they have formulated an entire religious system to support their blood magic diet. So it's a blood magic.
Multiple religions have done that.
Multiple religions have done that, and they've just borrowed from each other. This has been practiced. You can go back to the ancient Aztecs, the ancient Babylonians, the ancient Egyptians, and we're talking about the ancient Chinese, the ancient Japanese. Throughout all history, this vampire, parasitic, satanic religion of slaughtering innocent animals to gain strength, to gain favor with the gods. And we know, of course, our human species have never, we only began with doing this to the animals, and we've always graduated to doing this even amongst ourselves as human beings. And we can see where this has been the human sacrifice. I'm gonna blow your mind with this one, Brother Joey. Human sacrifice is actually not forbidden in the Bible. The God of
Mm,
the Bible is just does not want you sacrificing your children to other deities because we have
mm.
other deities. The God of the Bible is just simply tribalistic, but there's nothing in the Bible, there's no command against human sacrifice. And so you read the book of Judges, chapter 11, and the judge of Israel, Jethro, he actually, under the spirit of his God, he actually made a vow. He made a blood oath, a blood magic oath with the God of the Bible and said, if you give me victory in war, and war is genocide, if you give me victory over my enemies and genociding them, whoever walks out of my house to greet me, I will offer it as a burnt offering to you. He wasn't talking about a goat or a sheep. And so the God accepted his oath, gave him victory, bloodshed, gave him, this is all blood magic. This is right in your Bible in the book of Judges, chapter 11. And when he came home from victory, Brother Joey, the first person who walked out of his house to greet him was his young virgin daughter, the only child he's had. And he mourned and wept. And the daughter told him, well, father, you have to honor the blood oath that you made with Yahweh. And then what did he do? He took that girl and he burnt offering her. Now, if you read the book of Leviticus chapter 1 of 5, and you go over the details of what a burnt offering is, Brother Joey, this is what a burnt offering is. That means he stabbed his daughter to death. After he stabbed her to death, he removed all of her skin. This is described in Leviticus. He removed her. He skinned her down to the bone. Then after he skinned his dead daughter, he chopped her up in pieces. Then he removed all her organs. He washed her organs, removed her head completely. Then he put that on top. Then he took her blood. He sprinkled it around the altar, which is a pile of stones. And then he burned her in fire until her body was crisp.
This is in the Bible.
That's in the Bible, Judges chapter 11. At no point in time did the God of the Bible say, stop, don't do this. And then people say, yeah, but he stopped Abraham from doing it. Yeah, but then he provided a baby lamb. A baby lamb was provided into place. So yeah, this is Judges chapter 11. And then it clearly states that after he did that, from that time forward, the women of Israel would mourn during the day that he did that. They would mourn because she was never able to grow up and live to become married.
Yeah. So what I realize we're working with here is less right and wrong and more light and dark, right? And with light being, the spirit of all creation, and dark being the spirit of consumption and death. Now, when people do consume animals, I do think you are getting some of the dark energy. Like, this is blood magic. Like, you are getting the spirit of the darkness, right? Which gives people a sense of strength, right? Not light strength, not spiritual strength, but of the darkness, the wrath, the basically just being a parasite of their death and suffering. Now, with this dark energy, what do you think it does for the human being? Like, how does this? Go ahead.
Yeah, what it does is the karma comes through. It's a spiritual and physical death. Again, one of our scriptures of religious veganism we use is called the gospel of the Essene gospel of peace.
Yep.
And in the Essene gospel of peace, Jesus the Nazarene states that when you kill an animal to eat its flesh, you're killing your brother and your sister.
Amen.
And that when you do that, the karma you put on yourself is that Mother Earth, whom we all come from, will remove her healing powers from your body. But Brother Joey, when we see this cancer epidemic, when we see the pandemics, when we see all of these viral outbreaks and antibiotic resistance, when we see the plague, just look in your churches, look in your schools, look in your Walmart. You're seeing literally zombies walking around, disease, taking multiple medications, mental illness is out of control. In America, the violence is so bad now. I mean, the school shootings, it is, people are living in a living hell because of the participation in this blood magic and the consumption of dead animal flesh, which is a sacrifice. A animal has to be sacrificed, and you cannot sacrifice an innocent life to the Most High. When you participate directly or indirectly in eating meat, you are participating in a sacrifice to Satan. And so therefore we see that. So that passage continues to say that you will lose your eyesight, that your strength and vitality will be stripped from you, that the blood of those innocent animals that you're consuming, that blood will now poison your very body. Every organ, every cell will be poisoned until you're destroyed. Look at the lifespan. Look at what happens to people when they get old, Brother Joey. They lose their brain. My father was a pastor. My father was the most devout Christian I've ever known. And
Hmm.
he believed in the blood of Jesus. 9 strokes, death at age 66. Mother Earth removed her healing power from him. He was wearing a diaper. He could not hold his fecal matter. My mother was his full-time caretaker. So this is what's happening. We're seeing the death of our planet, but Mother Earth will spit back up because of our actions through viruses and pandemics and so forth. So that's what's happening. We're sick. We're the most sickly disease. Look at our children. Look at the autism. Look at the mental illness. I ain't never seen no sickness and disease. I'm pretty sure, Brother Joey, you know people your age that are now to have cancer now. They have
Colon cancer.
Yeah. Cancer, diabetes, cancer's off the chain. Cancer's up there now with heart disease,
Hmm.
especially after what people did to themselves during that pandemic. So this is all written. The sad thing about this, Brother Joey, what I'm describing is all written. The Hebrew Gospel of Matthew, which the vampire church completely destroyed, that was written by the real disciple Matthew in the first person. He recorded Jesus the Nazarene as telling the leaders of the church of his day that if you don't stop killing these animals, the wrath of God will never leave you. And that is how that wrath is displayed. Now, one of the very few Bible verses that I use these days is in the book of Proverbs. I've been using this one for over 10 years now. The book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 5 through 8. It confirms what I'm saying, in that it says that if you trust in the Lord with all of your heart and lean not upon your own understanding, but in all of your ways acknowledge him and he will direct your paths. Fear the Lord and depart from evil. And then it attaches a health promise, and it will bring health to your body, strength to your bones. So if you don't see health in the body and strength in the bones, then that means that there is a spiritual disconnect. You're following the wrong Lord. You're under the wrong deity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that, and I want to get into kind of, I don't know if you get into just revelation, whether that's revelation of the Bible or revelation of that God gives you of kind of the coming years here. But I do think that, they will be known by their fruits. The kind of sense of, I look at this world and I see the trillions of animals slaughtered, and I ask myself, I say, how does a world come to see this, right? 98% of people still committing it. And what I keep coming back to is they will be known by their fruits, right? The ones who are living in the light, as time goes on, compounded by time, the light will continue to produce the same fruits, right? And so that's one thing. And then I do want to get into, I've definitely been feeling a strong, just with everyone I talk to about the movement, a strong charge in it as we speak. And, a world of peace, a world of harmony, the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven, right? It is a world where we don't feed off of the innocent and cause violence to the innocent. What do you see as far as, is that possible here on earth? Is that coming within the near future? What is your kind of thoughts on that?
Well, in the book of Isaiah, chapter 11, it speaks of a future peaceable kingdom where
Yeah.
carnivores will be returned to their original state. Because in Genesis chapter 1, verse 30, the animals actually were all herbivores. And so
Hmm.
we see where there's a coming return. And so what is the master plan of the ever-present creator? We know that life is about learning. So we know that these extreme opposites exist for our learning. As a matter of fact, our
Absolutely.
scriptures teach that falsehoods were put in the Bible by the devil to test us, in mastering our love for the creator, to where we would rather receive persecution from religion than to live with the evil conscience blaspheming the creator. That's an incredible scripture by Peter in the Clementine homilies, that the lies in the Bible are there to actually help develop our love for the creator. We're supposed to be able to look, and we're supposed to be able to go against all religious systems of the day and say, no, I will not believe that about the creator. That's evil.
Amen, bro.
So the meat industry is the most powerful industry in the world, brother. The meat industry works with the pharmaceutical industry, the industries of death. They run this world, and brother Joey, all of the religions work with them. They support them, brother. The biggest defense. So it's like, how can in our lifetime, until the creator decides that the purpose of gathering enough children to wear the peaceable kingdom, I don't know. But when we talk about Could it happen now or during our lifetime? I mean, the major religions are blood magic cults. I mean, you try to teach anybody what I'm telling you, and all they do is quote the Bible. I mean,
Mm,
the Bible is the biggest shield for the murder of animals. I
mm,
mean, right
absolutely.
now as we speak, mother cows are being forcibly injected with a rod full of bull semen, and they'll use the Bible to justify. You show them a video of of pigs being hung upside down and having their throat slit, but they'll say, "But the Bible says." Whenever you try to teach love and compassion for animals, they take you to the Bible. The mainstream religions are the shield for the meat industry. They designed it that way. So, when you ask and somebody say, "Well, Minister of Wellness, you sound like it's a hopeless situation." No, it's not a hopeless situation. Our job is to do the best we can to wake people up through our
Absolutely.
action, through our activism. That is our job. That is what we are put on here to do. But when will it all end? When will the lesson be over? The lessons that this life, how many of us or the creator creating to go through this process? I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
Absolutely. I do think that, when you look at the movement as a whole and the evil as a whole, it does seem to have its like I look at Satan or the devil with its cusps on planet Earth right now, especially when you look at animal slaughter. And it's like, does 2% of people who are aware of this
Yeah.
blood magic combat the 98? And I think that, the 2% of us and even a smaller percent, but are kind of hitting this at its core, which is the religious veganism, which is that if it does not bring about health, prosperity, and peace for all living beings on the planet, right, it is not of God. It is not of the light, right?
Yeah.
And now, whatever religion you choose to use, that is the compass, right?
Yes.
And I believe if a collective of people enough are surrounded around that compass, they will be known by their fruits. You will be able to look at that sect of people. You will be able to see the Christ consciousness within them,
Yeah.
right? And you will you say, I don't know what they're doing, but that, right? I see that, and that they will be shining the light. And I think that that's why the religious veganism or spiritual veganism is the roots. And I've talked with Cam about this in the sense of, we saw a spike of veganism in the 2010s with the Impossible Burgers and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
People were like focused on the health, and then it shot right down is because it wasn't about the root. It was about the health. And us human beings, as fallible beings, we're always going to go back to our gluttonous desires unless there's a deeper reason
There
for
you
it.
go.
And so now when you hit it at the root, it's objective. The root is objective. Blood sacrifice and violence to the innocent is of the darkness, is of Satan, right? That's objective. Go ahead.
And what you're saying is so powerful, bro, Joe, and that's why the vegan preacher needs you all's help, because the suit and the tie preacher that I am, I'm a huge threat to that system because my message is the solution. It's the preacher,
The solution.
and I come right out of the church. I was born to preach. It's my gift. I never went to school for it at all, and this is what I do. I even do motivational because here in Kenya, East Africa, it's a more religious based culture. So as a minister, they allow me to go in and I'm able to preach to the children here in the high schools. But it's what I do, and that's why they shadow ban me.
Yeah.
That's why they remove my monetization from YouTube. That's why they threw me off of TikTok, because they don't want a loud, strong, thunderous preacher exposing that these religions are blood magic cults operating under inspiration of a false deity, and that people are under the same blood magic system that the ancient Aztecs were under when they were removing the hearts of their babies to their god Montezuma. It's no different. People believe the same thing. And now, instead of worshiping the trees and the sun and the moon, they worship a book. And to me, it was better for them to work. At least it's logical. At least the sun, they know was created by the creator. These people are worshiping a book. They worshiping ink and pen and words written on paper. So that's why the religious veganism movement, it's a massive threat. And that's why preachers such as myself, they don't want to see me go viral, because you start, like you say, if you don't have veganism, if it is not your religion, you're going to fall off. So for instance, like I told you with me, brother Joey, when I first became a vegan, I was ripped to shreds. I was 165 pounds, ripped to shreds. But then I went through about a depression. But because veganism is my religion, brother Joey, when I started emotionally eating, which is wrong, but when I was doing it, I still did it as a vegan. So like I
Yeah.
said, I went to the vegan donuts, the vegan ice cream, the vegan, but I still, so the question would be, well, man, why didn't you just fall off? Because it's my religion. So I
Yeah.
don't have an option. So even when I was doing all that, brother Joey, I would sit there and I'll travel 30 miles to go to a vegan restaurant to have my vegan tacos.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I would do that and I'll pass all of these restaurants that I used to eat at
Yeah.
because it's my religion. It's my religion. And so now, of course, now I've lost all the weight because now I'm back whole food, plant-based vegan, but I am a testimony to how you cannot stay this course if it is not a part of your religion. So it's
Mm.
the religions that are the problem. We have to talk about it. And a lot of these ethical vegans, they're cowards and they don't want to address it. And I remember I did a interview on a good friend of mine, and he's a you know, kind of he's an atheist, but he's a vegan. And so I did an interview on his channel and people were talking about religion has nothing to do with veganism. How disrespectful to say something like that when throughout the history of the human species, the reason most would stop killing animals for food is because of their religious beliefs. So what are you talking about? But yeah,
Absolutely.
they're scared of this. Even the ethical vegans, they don't want to face the monster of religion. They're
Hmm.
scared because these religious institutions, they will kill. They will kill with the support of big pharma and the meat industry. They will kill to maintain their power and their control and their money over the masses. So trust me, brother Joey, it is us, the religious vegans, the Nazarenes, the faith, the religion of life and health, who are declaring that no, the ever-present creator commands us to put down the dead animal flesh. We are the biggest threat, especially those of us who have been assigned to be, you know, preachers and pastors, like Brother Aaron Opke, you know, was a pastor. No, they're terrified of us.
Absolutely. That's a compass. That's like what would Jesus do?
Yes. Yep.
But the root of veganism is the golden rule
Yeah.
extended to all living beings.
Yes. There
It's
you
as
go.
simple. There it is.
Yeah.
And when you say, how can you make a religion out of veganism? Well, all religions speak of the golden rule and point back to it. They're just failing to realize that animals have souls too, right? The definition, I don't know if you know this, the definition of animal, anima, the Latin root of it is soul, breath, life, right? And so once we separate the fact that we are of the same breath of life as these beings, we then allow all of the evil deeds of Satan to enter us through them, right? And as you said, as you said, when you realize what I'm doing to an animal is what I'm doing to my brother or sister, and at its deepest root, it's what I'm doing to myself. When you realize the same breath is, and even the Bible says it's the same breath of me is within the animal, right?
Yep.
And so if we can say, hey, I'm going to cut off the golden rule of the true spirit of God, which is treat us as you want to be treated. I'm going to cut that off for everyone besides my species. Boom, evil infiltrates the entirety of humanity. We commit the most awful acts, rape, torture, trafficking, abuse, murder, all of it, enslavement, every single day, 3 times a day, to beings that are really no different than us at its core, right? And that's literally Satan or demons are having a party because they're like, look at them, bro. They don't see that these animals have souls. They haven't looked in a pig's eyes before and said, wait, that's the same thread of consciousness as me. And so I do think that, you know, veganism, the root of is the actual golden rule. It's another word for the real golden rule, which is the golden rule extended to all things. That is the vessel that light enters the world and defeats the darkness.
Yeah, as you made it very simple. I mean, you have more common sense, you know, than a 60-year-old Christian apologetics with a PhD. I mean, what is so confusing to understand about that? That's sad. And again, this is something, if you go to any church and you say what you just said, Brother Joe, they'll throw you out.
Absolutely.
You know, you're not allowed to have. How is it possible that we have more love and compassion for animals than the creator of animals? That's how sick these religions are. So you're telling me I love a cow more than the cow's father, the creator of the cow. What type of sense does that make? And I'm supposed to tone down. You love them too much. How can you love something too much? How can you want something to live too much? How can you want something? How can you have too much mercy to not want a living being to die? You know, it's just absolutely the more you think about people, you know, say that I yell and scream and shout and call names, but I'm speaking from the pain of the animals. Who
That's what
speaks
I
to the
say.
pain of animals?
That's what I say.
There's something else. I just had a vampire on Facebook, and this clown talking about he gonna write a 200 to 400 page PDF against me and Brother John Truth just because we're preaching love for animals to him.
Mm,
But then he say, "Oh, you call us vampires. What am I supposed to call you?
absolutely.
You believe you worship a God that needs blood. Why? Why do you need blood? Why would you create an animal with a central nervous system and derive pleasure from its pain? What other word am I supposed to use than a vampire? What do you call that? That's what Dracula does in the vampire movies. I need to suck your blood to gain life. So what other word am I supposed to use? Why would your God give the animals a central nervous system? Why would he give them pain receptors? Why would he give them families and then delight in stripping them away from their families? What is righteous about that? What is holy about that? That's a monster. What other words am I supposed to use when, as we speak, Brother Joey? I mean, we're talking about millions of animals are being slaughtered by the seconds. If you look worldwide, in the United States of America, we had over 32 billion animals have been slaughtered for food as of August the 7th, 2026. That's one country. When you put all the countries together, Brother Joey, there's a worldwide animal kill clock. And when you click on it, it shows you the number of animals killed since you opened the page. Within 10 seconds, it reaches 1 million wild fish. Within 10 seconds, every 10 seconds, 1 million fish are being slaughtered. And fish bleed red. They bleed red just like we do. It's sick. And all of this is being done in the name of God. And they want to force this God to be the God. And then the most peaceable of all of the religions, they say that if you don't believe in a blood magic oath of Jesus, then our God is going to torture you in eternal fire for all eternity, even if you're 15 years old. So here's my thing, Brother Joey. What was wrong? Because where is that passage? I just went over something in the Bible where, in the Bible, where these Bible thumpers, and do this test, Brother Joey. Show them, go to a pastor, your local pastor, and watch him twist and turn trying to justify when the God of the Bible in 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 1-3 told the Israelite army. So we're talking about grown men with swords. And he told them, you go to the Amalekites and you kill all the men, you kill all the women, you kill all the infant babies. And then look, he even made a distinction between infant babies and newborns. He said, kill the infants and the suckling, meaning even if they're young enough to where they're still breastfeeding, kill them too. All the donkeys, the sheep, the goats, and whatever. So you know what they'll say? Now take that to your pastor and say, what's right? Is that righteous for God to command murdering newborn babies? And then they'll try to wrangle and then ask this question. They'll say, well, they were so wicked. They were this, they were that, they were this, they were that. Okay, so now so your God is a baby murderer. So now let's check this out. Here's the question, Brother Joey. Are those Amalekite babies who them Israelite men killed, are they in heaven or hell, according to Christianity? Wow. You think those pastors are that wicked to where they would put them still in hell? Because I would think that they would. I'm trying to give them a slither of compassion, Brother Joey, to say that they would say, okay, well, they got to go to heaven because they were babies. But you still think that these vampires would put them in hell still. Wow. Man, I never thought I'd live to see the day where somebody would give a vampire pastor more credit than me, because I'm trying to give them a little bit of compassion, Joey, and say that their compassion would turn on and they would say, well, they're in heaven now, though. The Amalekite babies, they're in heaven now. But you saying, oh, no, they'll still say, yeah, they're in hell. That newborn Amalekite
that's what the Bible. That's what the Bible would say.
Woo.
Is it not what according to the Bible? Is it not what if those babies would have gone to hell? Is that right or wrong?
Man, you talk to these Bible thumpers, brother. They have 50,000 different denominations. I mean,
literally 50,000.
I think it depends on how evil and uncompassionate and unmerciful the pastor is that you would ask that question to, or the Amalekite newborn babies whom were slaughtered, who had their throats slit by the sword because under the commandment of biblical God, or those newborn babies in heaven or hell. I think it depends on how evil of a vampire Christian you ask that question to, I believe the real evil ones, I believe they'll say they are in hell. I wonder how my father would have answered that question, because my father, he absolutely believed that you would be tortured eternally without any redemption in hellfire. He believed that. I wonder how he would have answered that question. Maybe you can do a test.
And then you ask, okay, what would someone have to do that you love, for people you love, genuinely love? What would they have to do for you to send them into eternal torture?
Right, exactly. Who would do that?
You can't. You can't. Those things, love and sending someone to eternal torture, is they don't go hand in hand. And honestly, most Christians I've talked to, they don't try to go as far as to justify that God sends people to eternal torture and hell for not believing in certain beliefs, and they'll be like, that's just an analogy or whatever. But and then you get to the picking and choosing, right, within the Bible still. And then you'll have the people, okay, hey, if I love the dark magic I'm getting from animal flesh and it's getting me high and I want to keep eating it, then I'm going to use the Bible and cherry pick to justify it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they cherry pick death, and we're commanded to cherry pick life, and they get mad at us for that. They say, here's what they like to say, Brother Joe. They say this like this has some spiritual significance. They say, you're trying to fashion a belief system to fit your philosophy.
Absolutely.
That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to fashion a belief system around life and health. What are you talking about? My goodness. I'm sorry, brother. I'm fired up this morning. I mean, it's like, man, what are you supposed to do, man? How you gonna criticize so that you're creating something, a religion, a God based on love for animals?
Yeah.
Are you even listening to yourself when you talk? Are you even listening to yourself? You're criticizing me because I'm making your God more loving. I'm trying to make your God more merciful, more loving.
Absolutely.
I mean, these people, it's like Brother Joey sometimes, and this is what Brother John Truth told them when we exposed that the Passover lamb was never commanded by the Creator. It was commanded by the devil. And what he tell people is, why don't you just take a deep breath and just sit back and concentrate before you open your mouth and speak against men and women who are promoting peace, life, and health for all.
Wow.
That's all we're trying to say, is that these sentient beings who bleed like us, who feel pain like us and have families like us, they have a right to enjoy the pursuit of happiness just like we do. And that our job is to serve them and to show the love of the Creator to them. Why would you go to war against that type of ideology? What type of spirit has been put in these religions to where people who simply have made a religion, Brother Joe, because this is what we've done. We've made a religion out of love and peace and compassion. And yet throughout our entire history as Nazarenes, as Essenes, as Faithists, these vampiric religious authorities have hunted us down, destroyed our records, destroyed our scriptures.
Killed Jesus for the exact same thing we're talking about.
The greatest vegan activist that ever lived, the real Jesus. He went to that temple and Jesus got fed up. Some will say that he lost his cool and he went to that temple, because let me tell you, Brother Joey, not many of us would dare to have the courage to do that. Not many of us will walk inside of a church picnic and start flipping over tables and overthrowing a hot dog. Go to one of these church picnics where they barbecuing hot dogs and we kick over the grill and we tell them that you have blasphemed the character of the loving Creator, and you have turned the house was supposed to be the house for all creation. You have turned it into a house of murder. Not many of us would dare do that. Yeah, we would be called hate mongers and so forth and extremists, but that's exactly what Jesus did. He went in there and kicked over. He overturned tables. He was whipping and beating, all in the name of the animals. And 3 days later, that cost him their life. Just like, look at what happened with our brother Cam Waters of Christspiracy. Look at how all he did was save a puppy. He saved a puppy, and they're trying to convict him with a felony because he saved a puppy from being tortured. So if Cam Waters saved a puppy from being tortured and he got a felony, what would happen if me and you took some whips like Jesus and we went to the church picnic, the church fish fry, and we start kicking over barbecue grills and kicking over tables and whipping people?
It would have to be more than the church pick. It'd be like going into the, I don't know, whatever the holiest temple there is in the modern day
Right.
and age.
Yeah, what he did was something at the highest level. He went to the temple itself. So yeah, you're
Yeah.
talking about us going to like the Vatican or something.
Right.
Or
During
going
their barbecue.
Yeah, going to Jerusalem and
Yeah, absolutely. It's what I try to see is I try to see it at the spiritual level, right? And so when I look at an individual who is corrupted by this demon, I detach the individual from the spirit, right? And you know this when you get in debates and arguments and threaten the addiction, you see the spirit come out in the eyes and the energy. And I call it the matrix too, is one name I have for it, is one thing I've been posting about. And it's the governmental spiritual. The spiritual is the biggest physical, cognitive, social, and cultural forces that all collectively, like in almost a beautiful way, a very effective way, 98% of the population, to convince us that causing harm, violence, abuse, all of it to innocent sentient beings is justifiable, right? And it's powerful. It's the most powerful matrix there is, right? Is the matrix, because it uses all of those things. Like for me, I never even could have gone down the path because culture told me I would have been a soy boy.
There you
Right.
go. I'm glad you brought that up because we got a few minutes left, and I definitely wanted to talk to the men because I was trapped under this. Now I want people. I first of all, I wish somebody would call me a soy boy to my face.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I was in the United States Marines for 4 years. I was a police officer for 7 years. I'm a full-time missionary in a third world nation doing missionary initiatives and feeding the hungry and so forth. I'm stronger and in better shape than I ever was. Even when I was in the United States Marines, there is nothing more masculine and manly than to defend the defenseless. Now, I don't know who's more of a coward than a hunter and fishermen. I mean, you're using your abilities to exploit. You're using your abilities to kill and steal and destroy. No, real men, we defend the defenseless. We stand up for those who cannot stand up for themselves. We use our strength to give strength to those without strength, to practice, to enforce true righteousness and justice. That's what a real man is supposed to do. So there's nothing manly about being a flesh eater. That's weak. And I would use a bunch of other adjectives, but I don't want to get my brother Joey in trouble. So that's one of the biggest, that is one of the most evil and wicked things that they've done. Meet beef, be a man, get your beef. So you're saying that being a man is being a murderer, is
Absolutely.
participating in blood magic, to be a murderer. And then we know that they pump all of these animal flesh with a bunch of sex hormones and all of these, and it lowers testosterone. It destroys your ability to be a man. You might look big and strong, for temporarily, but look at all these flesh eaters when they get in their 50s and 60s and 70s.
They're known by their fruits, brother. And that's what I'll say is that, I'm more on the social media and more aware of my generation, but that falsehood has infiltrated us. Literally the basis of masculinity being the exact thing that steals it from a man, right? And the exact thing. But what I always come back to is they will be known by their fruits, right? And so the divine masculine that, Jesus held, of the protection, of the light, you will be able to see it and you will be able to say that is true masculinity, right? And so that's my goal, especially with the young men, is to guide them away from this deceiving demonic practice and bring them to the light, brother.
Amen. Well, brother, I appreciated the conversation, brother, and I always leave people saying peace, life, and health for all without the
Amen.
sacrifice of any. That's the religion of life and health. And I have my YouTube channel for those who are viewing this outside of mine. I have 2 channels, the Minister of Wellness. I have the main channel, but then I have a church channel for my most updated. If you want to know my most updated teachings, I have the church channel, the Health Reformation Church of Jesus Christ. So I encourage people to go there and follow the religion of life and health. Salvation is not through blood sacrifice, it's through a life of giving and service. So I built an entire church based on charitable work. Every single week, I'm raising money to help the poor. because that is salvation. So you don't have to worry when you come to this church. Don't let the suit and the tie fool you. I'm not none of these Bible thumping Christian pastors who will take your money and be rolling around in a Mercedes Benz. No, we raise money. We're building a children's home, not a home for myself, not a church building. We're building a orphanage to take children off the street. We do food drives where we feed thousands of hungry children living in abject poverty. My church supports 200 orphans, 2 children homes. We do organic sanitary pads. So we are active in the work of true salvation. So come on over to the Health Reformation Church of Jesus Christ and let's walk this path together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'll throw that all in wherever I post this. I'll throw that in there. Thank you. Thank you for all the work you do, brother. And this is not our last time speaking for sure. And yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir.